we're going to become champions. Celtic way, wait for the ball from side to side, and until they try to hide, the wait for the ball from front to back. Attack, 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 67, and then he's a Westman, the buzzing and a thousand.
Hello and welcome to episode 124 Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your host Mark and myself Paul. Join us tonight. We'll have Terence after a brief absence from the podcast. That's Terence161 from our phone page, www.celticrumours.co.uk. You can check all out other links to the podcast in our description below. On today's podcast, we'll talk about yesterday's 3-0 loss against Rumours FC at Ibrox. Is this team bigger? Is our squad actually better than we actually think, with some fringe players starting to get the views of Terence and Mark and that? And who has the bragging rights over the summer? According to Sky Sports, it's Rangers who would have the bragging rights over the summer with their comments yesterday. And please, anything you guys in the chat want to discuss, please let us know. Firstly though, I'll send off to Mark for a few shout-outs.
Hey, thanks very much, Paul. A few shout-outs for some of the boys off the forum. Tim Alloy at Glasgow Green. Big Campsey as well. Shout out to Richie as well. He's back into the Mora. If he's getting in to get his last, is it a round of chemotherapy or run of chemotherapy, whatever it is, but he's getting to get his last round of that, the Mora. His numbers, his cancer number things are looking a lot better than they were the last time, so hopefully again it's working out. So a big shout out to Richie there. We're all cheering on you, bud. Some folk in our chat there. Mikey, nice to see you, Mikey. Mikey, I noticed, I don't know, I've missed a call for you. I didn't even notice. I've been sitting at the computer and it never even rang, bud. Bobby, nice to see you again, Bobby. Brian, nice to see you, bud. We Kyogo's #1 fan there, Brian, isn't it? I can't get this to move up, just in case I missed it. Big Jabber, nice to see you, Jabber, too, as well. That's just that, Paul, got on with it, bud.
Is it? So Celtic suffered a 3-0 defeat at Ibrox yesterday. Begange ran into changes with Hart, Ralston, Kobayashi, Starfelt, Balaby, McGregor, O'Reilly, Hatate, Abada, and Yota. I was in favour of changes, Mark, for this game, but I'm a Celtic fan, and every Celtic fan doesn't want to get beaten by their rivals. And if you're a fringe player and if you're getting the chance to play in a big game, you have to take your chance. And not just the fringe players, Mark, but for me, the whole team was atrocious yesterday. Did they take the foot off the gas, Mark, that the league was won and we didn't put much effort?
If that is the case, Paul, that's shocking. I mean, I thought Starfelt was only half decent player on the park yesterday. Cal McGregor get bullied in that midfield, that Cantwell.
Well, Mark, we proved our point about him in that role when he lost that ball.
Evening you, Deef. Nice to see you in again, mate.
Mark, we proved our point yesterday with McGregor playing that pivot role. One, he kind of made a similar mistake in Europe. And two, we saw that yesterday from the pass back for the pass out from Joe Hart. He loses the ball to passing it back to Starfelt. We signed a Rata, I mean, if he's testing these fringe players in another position, why wasn't the Rata thrown in there yesterday? Do you know?
But even at that, Paul, I don't think a Rata would have made the kind of difference that I think we need. He's an out and out CDM, but I'm just talking about actual physicality, Paul. A bit of digging about that. I mean, we know Big AJ is a bit of a machine. We know that he doesn't shirk if he tackles, but Ralston as well. Ralston, Ralston, many times have we said that he's a good enough backup, but he didn't. Whenever he doesn't usually miss out on the kind of physical side. I just felt as if the full team get kind of bullied yesterday, Paul.
No, you're right. We were kind of jumping out of all the challenges again, Mark, like we've seen in previous derbies. You know what I mean? It's, you know as I do, Mark, these games are running the midfield, and again we saw Rangers dominate that midfield area. You know, it does, and Mark, maybe in these games, maybe play two pivots in the centre, and you know, McGregor and.
Well, see the thing about it, Paul. See, even right, you even take like the team yesterday, right, and say take out O'Reilly or Hatate and put Scott Brown in there. It's a totally different. It's a totally different. That's the type of player that we've no got. Do you know what I mean? Somebody like that, like a Scott type of player.
Why I'm kind of shouting for, Mark, is why I'm kind of shouting for Haksabanovic in that centre role, because he has that physique.
Aye, I'd like to see Haksabanovic get a wee chance in there.
That's because I think he has the passing range, Mark, and he has the skill set to play that role, and he's not going to be using what kind of speed he has. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
So I think that role would suit him. You know, like, but
if Scott Brown left, it's that the Beale and Gerrard used that tactic. Do you know what I mean? He tried just like out muscle, just bullies in the midfield and to get away with it. And then Van Bronckhorst, he went back to try and outplay us in that. And Beale and yesterday back into that kind of just the old tactics, and it worked again.
Well, what do you think? Maybe
it's something that I mean, everybody's saying it's a deep rubber game, but it doesn't really matter.
There's no deep rubber game, Mark.
No,
rivals.
No,
rivals just says, rival.
It was a meaningless game apart from actual, like, your pride for the next couple of days. That's the kind of thing. But it was just, Celtic, it was absolutely atrocious across the board. Angie's got to take some of the blame out for his team selection. But again, he came out and says he thought he'd put players out there that were good enough to do the job. But the actual performance, a lot of the players, and I said on the forum, you hate slagging off Cal McGregor, but that's got to be one of probably the worst performance I can remember Cal McGregor ever playing the Celtic jersey.
And
again, Paul,
Mark.
But again, Paul, if the team's no doing well on the park, you're looking to your captain to get them going and G them up a bit. And I get that. Nothing like that was happening. The full team just kind of looked lost yesterday. I mean, we passing about. Aye, we beat them in possession, but you're passing it about back between your centre halves and stuff like that. It doesn't make any difference.
It was kind of going back to Brendan Rodgers, Mark, pointless possession, wasn't it?
Aye. That's it. It's pointless possession. Just keep the ball and just pass it about. And we're sitting there even at like 2-0 down. And who knew if we could have sneaked a goal back, what would have happened? Their backsides might have collapsed. You'd never know. But even at 2-0 down, that Celtic weren't really. I mean, you look at that performance yesterday, and then you look at other performances throughout the season, Paul. There was no pressing. There was no like connection. Do you know what I mean? There was no kind of connection between the players.
Watching that game yesterday, Mark, right? And you take me out of that team, and there's no press there. There's nothing there. There's no press there. And I said it in the last derby we played them when Maeda pushed over to the right-hand side and Yota switched off to the left. That's when Tavernier got his 2 goals. You know? And, like, as you said there, if Celtic got a goal back at 1-0, I missed the chance because I was away in the morning, but I saw the highlights of it. Like Mark, like, that was a bad miss. Like, you know what I mean? That was a bad. That should have been put away, in my opinion. O's miss.
Aye, but
you know what I mean?
I mean, the guy, Big O's getting that's him. He's no good enough for Celtic. And that That's him. He's wrote off already, Paul, with the width of a post. And yep, I know it was a terrible missing that, but I keep saying it. Look at some of the sitters Kyogo's missed through the season.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. You know what I mean? Writing the Pollard off because
No, I know.
Well,
no, I mean it was
we
a
can
poor
go
miss.
back.
It was, but it was again. It was unlucky, Paul, in a way.
We can
And
go.
he did do well the way he controlled it and get the ball out or the keeper and that as well.
But then again, Mark, that was the only opportunity O got. There was no other real opportunity that he got because Abad and Yatter were non-existent. Abad, to me, was already
Abad was absolutely ganting performance for him yesterday as well. I know he's just coming back for that.
I would actually, before Mark James first, have started if I'd known about his performance there.
I don't care what they're coming out with and saying, but Ange's saying that everything's all right, and Abad is saying that everything's all right. He wants to stay here. There's no way he wants to stay here. If he's coming out, why is he saying different stuff when he's away in Israel and places like that? Do you know what I mean? I mean, as I said, he's coming back for injury, but to even put in that level of performance yesterday was a complete embarrassment for him, man. A lot of players should be embarrassed.
What you're saying there, like always getting pelters, Mark, saying he's not good enough, but what opportunity did he get? There was one and one only opportunity that he got, you know, and
well, once he went off, how many opportunities did Kyogo get?
Nothing.
If the striker's not getting serviced, how's he meant to do anything?
Exactly. There's just one position, Mark, that kind of really concerned me yesterday is the left back with
Barnaby's there. He's just not looking. It looks. It doesn't seem to be able to fancy a kind of physical side of things and that, and he just seems that wee, doesn't he? He just seems that small compared to the rest of the players on the park.
You know, like,
but can you? But spent a fair whack on him, too. Do you know? I mean, that's a strange one, that, Paul.
What's that?
The Barnaby. Why he's what? I mean, we're going about how good Angie's scouting and stuff like that is. Do you know what I mean? But was it we spent about 4.5 million on Barnaby? And I mean, things are looking the new. It's been a complete waste of money, to be honest.
Exactly, Mark. You could look at it that way, but I suppose what we can do is the end of the season is what happened to Taylor, what happened to the likes of Radisson. Maybe get this extra first full kind of pre-season under Ange. Get your first season under the way. Do you know what I mean? Some people just need that little bit, but like I hope I'm wrong and that he walks out, Marcus. But you said there, like, that's a lot of money for Celtic to be paying in a young player. I know he's a project, like, but we've seen projects under Ange, Mark, go straight into the team.
Aye.
You know?
He's flung players into derby games before, do you know what I mean? And it's worked out. It's just... Brian, I totally agree with that. Just the overreaction. You just need to look on the forum or look at Twitter and things like that. You know what I mean? I mean, we're sitting, we're upset we get beat. But as you say, there's no need to... I mean, there's people actually like, that's his name showing signs that they're catching up with and garbage like this. I mean, it's just unbelievable that some of the nonsense that Celtic fans come out with just because we lost a game. I'm
taking this, Mark, as Ange actually seeing his squad in depth. Is this squad in depth good enough to what Ange wants, and that's the progress in Europe? And if he can't beat his rivals with these squad of players, Mark, Ange is going to replace him. That's what I'm hoping.
But
Ange is looking at.
But who? Who really? Right? Who? Right? For a start, Ange brought in Kobayashi. So he's not going to replace him. He brought in so he's not going to replace him. And people forget as well, Paul. These guys they came in here in January straight, but
after a full season, Mark.
Exactly. They've had a full season and they've been sitting with their feet up. I mean, Kobayashi came in at the very start, but it was well late on in the month. Mind we were between and the other Korean striker we were chasing. mean, we were after 2 of them, and that's how it kind of dragged on.
I think, Mark, as well, like, you know what I mean? I like people are kind of not looking at it as well. Like this is really the first time this backline played together, and there's going to be kind of very little understanding on what kind of player is. Do you know?
Aye.
You know,
Aye.
It's overreacting, but I would, Mark, and I like if you're looking at one thing, Mark, I still think we need a third striker. You know.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. Aye.
You know.
But I mean, that's boy that they're talking about for the Dutch team that Barkas is at Utrecht. I mean, they're wanting €12 million for him.
Yeah.
Right, that boy, I can't see Celtic spending that on him, to be honest, either right away, Paul. Even if he could get some money off it with the Barkas thing. But is it this guy's got looking to step up to the next stage of his career? He's not got to come here and be back up to Kyogo, or even just Kyogo. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of thing. There's no way that it will be a deal like that. I keep saying it, Paul. What it needs to be is either a young boy through your academy, or it's like an older guy that's just happy to be training, being about a club, and be happy to get the odd. Mind like when they brought in Defoe and things like that. That kind of idea. If he's needed, he's there and ready to go. Because as we say, they're not going to get that much game time.
John Duncan's in there. I think Andrew.
Evening, John. Thanks for coming in again, mate.
John says, I think Andrew realises that we are very weak strength-wise. Kobayashi is too weak. We have no height. Rangers have always introduced big, strong, central defenders and midfielders. But I don't think Andrew. He came up and said that before, Mark, didn't he? He doesn't want those players. That's not the way he plays. With these big, strong.
We've got Carter Vickers, but he's good in there, even though he's wee in height compared to a lot of centre halves. But he's still good in there, and that was the big miss yesterday, Paul. That was for me the big miss. The biggest miss was Carter Vickers. There he is, the return of the king. There, Terence there. Gonna fire the link out for you, Ter.
You know, we definitely made him, and I think, Mark, we missed Taylor as well.
Aye, just see again. Maybe Taylor off injured at Ibrox, and that we fell apart. We fell apart in that game, and again yesterday, Paul. You just realise how important Taylor is to the way Ange wants the team to play. I mean, he's one of the most important players in Ange's system.
And he understands that role now as well, Mark. I mean, maybe, do you think maybe, that's what I said, maybe during pre-season, but has Badaby had enough time, Mark, to show it, to get used to that role, Mark, and get up to speed with Ange's system? Do you know? I can't be saying pre-season for every single player, can you?
No. But you'd still expect him to put in a better performance in that, Paul, than he did yesterday. You
know, because every pass by him, really, Mark, was kind of going astray. He was getting run ragged down there. He was, just run ragged all day, Mark, and he was targeted. That's
aye. He was targeted as the weak spot of the team.
Good to see you back, Terence. Welcome back.
What going?
We all.
Good yourself.
I'm all right, bud. I'm alive.
It's the main thing anyway, mate. Thank God.
Nice to have you back, Terence.
Cheers, bud. Cheers. Nice to be here.
Your thoughts yesterday, Terence? Like, people are saying it was a dead rubber game. Myself and Mark are saying there's no dead rubber between Celtic and Rangers. But throughout the team yesterday, was a poor performance by everyone.
Yeah, it was, Paul, to be fair, and I can understand both sides of the argument. I had said to Mark, we'd spoke before, and I reckoned it was Rangers were going to. I text Mark 3-1. I reckoned Rangers were going to win. I suppose it was more the manner of the performance by Celtic. That was the biggest thing. But it nearly, to me, looked like a combination of players watching themselves for the cup final, which is not necessarily always right, because the work rate and the tempo was non-existent compared to what you'd normally expect. And the other couple of big things for me were that some of the, if you want to call it replacements for the starters, there's a big gulf between them. There's a big gulf between Greg Taylor and the Argentinian lad. Like he's had a good few games, and he always seems to struggle. I've always thought he struggled. Like I heard Mark talking just there as well. Carter Vickers would not have lost that physical battle for the header with Suter. He just wouldn't have lost it. That's where Kobayashi is again. It's a slightly worrying thing that the physicality, as a technical footballer, he's very good, but the physical side of it, I don't think he's strong enough for that side of it, because he would, like, it was a bread and butter. It was a simple cross, and Suter just basically out-muscled him. He wouldn't have done that to Carter Vickers. You know, I thought Starfelt and O'Reilly were probably the only two that were passable yesterday. I thought Starfelt played well, apart from obviously the mix-up for the last goal, but he played well in the back four. Like he had a fine game, and O'Reilly was the only one in midfield. Other than that, they were. But I just think the gulf between some of the starters and some of the replacements was very clear to see yesterday for me. Very clear.
Mm-hmm. So you can't argue with that, Mark, can you?
No, it's spot on.
Yeah.
Every kind of over-egged how good the squad is. We actually have to make it. I mean, look what happened. We made some changes against St Mirren and it went belly up against them. We made changes yesterday. It went belly up there.
But it's no coincidence, Mark, that when certain changes are made, i.e. Carter Vickers doesn't start, they lose 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, if you looked at the spine of the team, obviously Carter Vickers was gone. The midfield was very quiet. Okay, I know Kyogo didn't start, and I know I thought he was unlucky, because I've seen lads in the live chat, and I mean the guy's in the building 5 minutes and they're basically saying he should be out the door. It's like, I mean, I really like Kyogo, I love him, but look at the amount of sitters he's missed this season. You know, he's missed gilt-edged chances in Europe and in the league. I know he still scored banged in 30 goals, but I mean, all looks like a decent player. He deserves a chance. I mean, if that's 5 inches, 6 inches the other way, it's a goal. So I mean, and I know people have said he only had 7 touches or 8 touches in the game. Again, Kyogo doesn't have an awful lot of touches in the game if you ever watch it. But also, the striker's only as good as the service, and he got no service. Like Leah Abada to me looked like a guy that is heading out. I know there's all the links, but he looked like a guy to me that was of that frame of mind, who's normally a much better player than that.
Mm-hmm. There seems to be something, Mark, going on about Hart there in the live chat. Your thoughts?
I think we should bring in a new keeper next season. I've been saying that for a while to you and Mikey and that. I think I've said it on here as well, Paul. Just, he's done a good turn for us, but the Craig Gordon kind of save yesterday was just, here they go, do you know what I mean? But, I mean, Bobby's saying we were only talking about Hart being tremendous 2 weeks ago against him in the semi-final, but how many games can you actually remember, like, Hart saving us in? I mean, you can go back and think of games that Arthur Boric and that Fraser Foster saved us in.
Are we looking for a new keeper though? This seems to be.
I don't think we will be. But I think we should be. Evening, Rebel, mate. Evening. Thanks for coming in, mate.
Well, look what was in front of Hart as well yesterday, Mark. As well. I mean, you have one regular starter that's playing in the back four. Like, I get your point. Like, I mean, I thought he probably could have done a little bit better for the first goal in where he cleared it to, but he had one regular play, one of the regular players that he would play with all season in the back four. That has to have a factor in it. But I understand where you're coming from with that. They might need to look at another keeper, because obviously Seagrass, whatever's happened to him, he's he seems to have been injured a lot this season. But that's the only thing I would say on the Hart situation there. You know, not playing with the same guys, all the regular back four of Vickers. Obviously, I know Johnson's out, but even if it was Ralston, Starfelt, Vickers, and Taylor. Do you know what I mean? There's some common ground. I mean, that's probably the first time those four guys have played together.
Mm-hmm.
Aye, definitely.
You know, I don't.
Evening, Peter. Thanks for joining us, mate.
I think, Mark, we'll stick with Hart for next season, and I think we could probably bring in a keeper maybe next January for a transition period under Joe Hart. You know, because something's up. For me, something looks up with Seacrest there because he's fit, but he's still not getting in the squad. You know, did Seacrest say something, or it should suggest that he should be number one or something like that? I don't know, but he doesn't seem to be in the pecking order at the moment, does he?
No. And mind we've got Barkas coming back as well.
Do you think maybe? No, I'm just saying it, Mark.
I said that to Mikey last night.
You know, I was always under the pressure, Mark, and I said this last season, Mark, 2 seasons ago when we had Barkas, that he was the only keeper capable of playing the way Ange wants to play with his legs.
I mean, the guy never really got a chance. I mean, he came in during that crazy COVID season. His confidence was just rattled. I mean, he's been out of Holland. He's one of the best keepers around Holland. That team would love to keep him, but can't afford him. And what I didn't twig to Mikey said to me as well was, mind Ange is Greek as well. Could Ange get into his seat and get him back on side?
I don't know, though. Does Barkas want to come back, Mark? I think he's kind of
slated Celtic, though.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. But you look at the way you see it, this full year for him went out in Scotland. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, when he was over in Holland, obviously, whatever, he did some interview, and he basically said, if any keeper ever asked me about it, he said I'd never recommend him to go to Celtic. Something along those lines.
But you recommended to go and play somewhere after the year that you've had. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, if you're a player that's out on loan and you know you're going to be coming back, are you digging a hole for yourself by saying those things? If he was permanently if he was permanently moving, I can understand it. That's fair enough. Players just go to certain clubs and it doesn't work out, and they'd be like, I had a horrendous time. But he knows he's more than likely coming back, and to say that I would basically tell any other keeper if they were asking me, whatever you do, definitely don't sign for Celtic. But he's coming back to Celtic as a Celtic player. I don't know if he's doing himself any favours saying that. Do you know what I mean? If he feels that way, keep it himself. Like, that's all I'd say. I wouldn't get it out. I wouldn't put it out in the public domain.
Rebel 86 saying I'd play Welch before Kobayashi in the final with Inverness will play to Fizz. It's not going to happen, is it?
I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't. That's a fair shout.
You know, I don't think it's going to happen. As Mark said there a while ago, before Terence came on, Ange brought in Kobayashi, and Ange is going to stand by his signings. You know, I think Welch was more than likely going to be out the door in January, Mark, only for Yen.
Aye.
Went out in January. You know, I can't see Welch starting there. You know,
no chance.
No,
I don't think so. I don't think that's
like
Welch. It was Dundee United. It was Dundee United. It was meant to be going in January.
Yeah, for loan deal, Mark. Yeah, for loan.
Aye, it was all set up. Then Celtic pulled the plug on it for no apparent reason. For Welsh, I mean, I liked Welsh, but I was always hopeful that he was going to make it at Celtic. But he's obviously no new. I used to joke about future Celtic captain Welsh and stuff like that for a laugh. But again, I mean, I know it was only Dundee United that were in for him for loan, but I mean, there was talk of teams were in Italy and that scouting them and stuff like that.
Udinese.
Yeah, but you've also to remember though, Mark. People are saying, and I obviously agree in the sense of the physicality side that Kobayashi was a bully big time. But Welsh was bullied. That St Mirren game, Welsh had a horrendous time. Welsh and Jens were centre backs, and they had a horrendous time in that St Mirren game. The Celtic lost 2-0. I don't know what the centre forward for St Mirren. He pushed them all over the place. He had him. So like the physicality side of things is fine, saying bringing in Welsh because he's more physical than Kobayashi. But like as I said, I watched him in a few games, and he's been out muscled by physical centre forwards, and the St Mirren game is a prime example of that. Like,
like everyone is kind of having a go at the defence and Hart, like, but look on from that, like what you said, Mark, there at the start, there was no press there. There was nothing from midfield backwards supporting the defence either. Like they just walked straight to us onto defence all the time. Like we were constantly on the defensive, and there was nothing there from the attack. Like we know Jota really, Mark, does Jota track back. Abada didn't track back. You know, I think we missed Maeda badly yesterday. You know, at the start of that game.
Big time. I'd say Tavernier was doing cartwheels inside in the changing room when he saw it. Maeda wasn't there, and it was Jota, because Maeda run all day and won't give him an ounce of time. Whereas, as you said, Jota, as quality as he is going forward, there is the tendency to be a little bit slack going back, and on numerous occasions when he has marked Tavernier, he struggles to get back. And sure, they were constantly down their right hand side, Celtic's left hand side, all day long. You know, as I said, but I do think, Paul, I think it's the cup final. I think fellas have their heads on the cup final. Genuinely, fellas are watching themselves. Injuries, I'm not making excuses for the performance.
That's what I thought yesterday. That's what I was kind of saying to you, Mark, there at the start. Like, did we just take our heads off the ball? That it was the end of season thing, you know, and that they're looking ahead for the final, Mark, and you know.
But the starting lineup suggested that, Paul. There's, like, if Celtic had drew at Hearts and they needed a result yesterday,
I think maybe
that team wouldn't have started.
Was kind of more fearful for his players, Terence, or for the final with that he knew Rangers would be aggressive in this game.
Oh, but listen, I actually was saying that as well to Mark before. I said that was one of my biggest fears, was they have not what would it mean for a Lundstrom to get a red card yesterday, and if he absolutely breaks Sam McGregor in two, means nothing. Like he's finished. Like,
you know what pissed me off yesterday? All the tackles in that game, and it was Callum getting the first bucket.
But Kevin 83 said it. Like, you man Cantwell, the guy who wears the hairband. First, when he scored, he basically nearly went into the crowd. No card. He actually caught Hatate around the neck. No card. He caught Jota around the ankle. No card. And there was another one or two. And as soon as McGregor, it wasn't even a tackle. It was more coming together. And your man goes down. The referee couldn't get the yellow card out quick enough. And Kevin 83 said it on the live chat. He said, I guarantee that the first player to be booked to be a Celtic player, the first tackle. And it wasn't even a tackle by McGregor. It was more coming together to try to win the ball. And the referee...
Cantwell's only as good as my late mother's fucking vagina rotting in her fucking grave. That's what he is.
Oh, fuck's sake. That's fucking woeful, Pater, Paul, man.
That's how good he is, like. That's how good he is. A fucking TikTok there with teenage girls. You want to watch what he's fucking doing in TikTok or the fucking PSNI be on his door. That's what I fucking will. You know?
You could have just said he was a bad player. That would have just...
Fucking fanny is all he is. Jesus Christ. Trying to grow a moustache there, more fucking hairs in my toes than he does in his moustache.
What is it with you guys with hair, Paul? You've got is it? Is this another hair issue because he's got the big
he just bugged. He goes on like that. He's this tough guy. All right? that he's this tough guy and saying before the match, would Cal McGregor give all players water? Do you know what I mean? What shit's that? Man, you're doing TikTok with fucking teenagers. You know, you're dancing on TikTok with fucking teenage girls and teenage boys. You fucking filthy fecker. You know? Bollocks that he's fucking this tough guy. I guarantee if you saw him in the fucking street and you said boot to him, he'd probably run and start dancing, running away. Fucking fanny is all he is.
Fucking brilliant, man.
You know? Biggest fucking and do you know what the best thing is? They want to build a club around him next season. Let them build a club around him, because you know what will happen? It's hope that will kill fucking Rangers. Hope will kill them, because they have hope after this derby, and it's the hope that will kill them, because they're building a team on Cantwell who's probably doing TikTok in the fucking dressing room before the game, dancing, asking fucking Raskin to film him. Do you know what I mean? Jesus Christ, give me fucking strength.
So what do you really think of him, though?
A cunt. Is what I fucking Michael Fields' mole is so big there that his mole could be holding the fucking camera while he's filming the fucking the TikTok video. You know?
Oh my.
Don't get me started in Canton.
Don't get me started. That was the Paul and Cantwell TikTok hours there, I think.
Jesus, because no one mentioned Toby tonight, all right?
When we both poor Toby, man, gutted.
Brian says Cantwell and Turnbull are friendly. But
in all fairness, though,
he got away with it yesterday. As I says, he bullied their full midfield yesterday.
Yeah,
because
he did.
He was like fucking Billy Elliot dancing. That's what he was fucking. He was dancing, basically fucking dancing when he was one with the ball.
Well, the referee was poor. The referee was poor. I'm not saying the referee it would have altered the result, Mark, but the referee was very, very poor on that side of things. I mean, there was no.
That was shocking.
This is my take now, right? It's and I'm going to throw this out to you there. The referees were intimidated now by giving a decision against Rangers because of what has happened. One, the Willie Cullum a few years back. Now Kevin Clancy, they're afraid of their life to give a decision or booking or red card to a Rangers player at the moment because of what the fans will do and what the club will write to fucking this Scottish FA.
That's a fair point. That is, they're not denying that, Paul. They definitely need denying that. But I had a sneaky suspicion that we'd have got a penalty against him yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you look at Goldson's one, it's like, I mean, that's a penalty all year round in every ground. Every ground, it's a penalty, because whether someone says, "Oh, the ball just rolled in his hand," you can look at the one F.E. Ambrose was given against him the time he played at Celtic there for whoever it was. The one against Bernabeu when he jumped up and his hand was behind his back. Once the ball touches your hand, in nearly every ground, maybe probably Hearts slightly different. But like it's a penalty. If that was roles reverse, it was a penalty. There's no question about it. And you know, to say that they've gone through a whole season without giving the penalty away at home is beyond laughable. And then, just as I said, some of the decisions from the ref in regards to how your man didn't get a card during the game, at least one card, which again, it's laughable. And when McGregor makes a challenge and it's not even a tackle, the card can't come out quick enough. As I said, I don't think that had any massive bearing on the game, because like you, Mark, I believe they basically, himself, Raskin and your man Lundstrom, they just bullied the Celtic midfield like they do in these games. You always say midfield is where the game is won and lost in these matches, and Celtic's midfield was very quiet yesterday.
Before we move on from that, what do you think Ange could take from this game, Terence, and going into the end of season transfer windows? Is there anything you think he might think after watching this game, looking at his squad, that he needs to strengthen? What position, is there any positions in particular you think? For
me, Paul, I would think 100% he would need one centre back, depending obviously if Carter Vickers or Starfelt left. If obviously either of those left, he'd need two. But I think he needs a centre back. For me, he needs a left full. He needs basically a proper holding midfielder or that kind of position, and a centre forward. They need a third centre forward. They need to be able to play with three centre forwards. It'd be my four positions off the top of my head. Fair enough, maybe a winger with a bad going, but certainly I would say left back, centre midfield, centre forward, down the middle, down the spine in particular. I think, because I don't think the Argentinian lad is. I think any of the games I've seen him play, and even against lesser teams, he struggled badly at the time he played against Hearts. He struggled badly yesterday against Rangers, and they'd be two of your hardest grounds to go to in Scotland, to be fair. But he hasn't shown a huge amount to me that if Greg Taylor got injured, that it would fill you with confidence if he came in. That's why I would say for him, and same down, said centre back, someone strong in the middle, and another centre forward. That would be my choice.
Mm-hmm. Mark, yourself?
As I said, I would still like to see bring in a goalkeeper, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Terence about the left back. I'd throw the goalkeeper in there, but basically what Terence is saying. I definitely want to see us adding a bit more muscle to our midfield. I don't know, even as if, you've got Big Boss and Lowell coming through, but you're not want to get into. You know what, to throw him into these type of games as a young lad, and then, do you know what I mean? He maybe have a bummer of a game and he's getting the kind of treatment that the rest of the kind of fringe players are getting. But I don't. But no, apart from like that kind of physical presence in the midfield, we're not actually screaming out for any first team players. I mean, are we actually overreacting to this loss yesterday when we're sitting here saying, do you get the way we're talking about? I mean,
I wouldn't be thinking. We're not even thinking about the match yesterday.
Are we going out to buy a better left back in Taylor?
Well, it's not even a bet. It's a minimum. He has to be equal to Taylor. At minimum, he has to be equal. Ideally, better. Like if you look at the way Juranovic left. If you look at the way Juranovic left, and we were all like, "Oh God!" and Alistair Johnson's come in, and in my opinion, Alistair Johnson looks a better player than Juranovic.
Oh, I totally agree with that, 1,000,000% terms. So,
like, if my fear is if Greg Taylor got injured for the Champions League, would you be comfortable with Bernabé there at left full? And my answer would be no chance. Whereas if for argument's sake, if Alistair Johnson got injured, would you be happy enough with Ralston at right back? Yeah, I would, because he'd do a job. He's not obviously as good as him, but he could certainly do a job. The gulf between Alistair Johnson and Ralston is reasonable, but the gulf between Taylor and Bernabé is massive. Massive.
It's a chasm, isn't it?
It's massive. It's day and night, and that's my worry. In the same way it would be with Kobayashi and Carter Vickers. It's different planets.
I mean, so we talk about signing. Well, we need to sign like a backup, squad players, and strengthen the squad and things
it's
like
first
that.
Team players. It's first team players.
But the way the way Ange talks in that, I think Ange's kind of made the kind of O's obviously a kind of project, but I think Ange's more the type of manager that if I'm buying somebody, I want them to be better than what's already there.
100%. But we had this discussion, Mark. Celtic are now in the Champions League. Celtic, even if they made 3 signings or only 4 signings, there should be a serious marquee signing. There should be a serious signing that basically, like, for argument's sake, if it's a number 10 position or someone like that, or a big CDM, but it needs to be like a serious, like,
something to get the fans excited.
A 12 million guy that everyone knows, oh my God, he's coming to Celtic, fantastic. Not someone that no one knows, like a real, because look, the money's going to be there. They're in a good financial position. They should be able to go, we can bring him in and we can pay him 50 grand a week. And it's a name when you bring him in that he said that it's, as I said it to you before, if Celtic are in the Champions League this season and say next season and season after, they should be able to make 3 marquee signings, one each year. And you can have your, if Ange has a couple of gems from wherever to come in underneath it and they're 2 and 3 million, fair enough. But I really do think Celtic need to push the boat on and go 10, 12, 13 million pound player. Because at the end of the day, a 5, 6 million pound player or 7 million pound player is the equivalent of 2 million 3 years ago, 4 years ago. The market's gone up so much.
Aye. You're definitely not getting the same kind of value for money as you go, even as you're saying, terms even the last 3 or 4 years ago.
Well, you could look at it in Scotland alone. If Celtic had gone for what was the Hibs fella said for Nesbitt, was it?
Mm-hmm.
When it was linked to them, if they were going for him, it was probably going to be they were probably going to be looking for about 5 million for him at the time. So if Celtic, if that's your 5 million, you know, a proper player that you could think is consider play in the Celtic team in the Champions League, you need to be able to go 12, 13, 14 million. I know people would say the Celtic will never pay that. But at some stage, they have to move the ball.
Eventually they will. I've said that for years on the forum. I said, eventually Celtic will sell. Well, at the time I said, like, it'll be £20 million, a £20 million player. And we've done that. But just with the way, with inflation, the way transfers are going and stuff like that, eventually Celtic will spend £20 million on a player and sell a player for £50 million.
Exactly.
Maybe not be for another 5 years, but it will eventually kind of happen.
But you're not always going to get lucky where Ange has been so excellent that he's able to get an O'Reilly for so little money, a Tate for such small money, Maeda for reasonable money, Kyogo for today when it's small money. You're not gonna continually get lucky to get these guys and they all tick. Do you know, we can name off tons of players that Celtic have bought for 2 and 3 and 4 million or 3 million that have all been rubbish. But I think for the Champions League, and we said it before, Celtic need to make a marquee signing, a big marquee signing.
Evening, James. Thanks very much for coming in, mate. I think that's a new listener, maybe. Interview, don't recognise.
Yesterday was always on the cards. We haven't been playing well the last few months with a full French squad. Never mind the changes he made yesterday. Look, you can agree with that, Mark, can't you? You mean
Aye.
We haven't been at our best, you know. Injuries didn't help either, and stuff like that. Brian is saying we would be honestly having this conversation if we would. Of course, we wouldn't, Brian. You know what I mean? That's just.
They've got lost one game up to yesterday, so you know one game that counts basically up to yesterday, one counting game like in the league. So
do you know what I mean? You know.
Aberdeen won 8 million for that Duck,
yeah.
But this is my point, Mark. So you mean for us, if Celtic want to get pay 15 million, and they'll have the money to get a good proper guy that you can go. He's a starter all day long, and he'll play in Champions League, and he won't look out of place. That's what Celtic need. They need that.
You know, just going back to Brian's thing there, like, but we'll be having this conversation. Like, that's like asking if my mum had a pair of balls, would she be my uncle? Do you know what I mean? You know? I mean, in fairness, like, if we won yesterday, we won't be looking at the cracks, but we lost. We're looking at the cracks. We're trying to see where can we improve. You know, is this squad big enough? And I don't think it is. I don't think our squad is actually as good as we actually think. You know?
That's a fair point.
I don't think. Going by the Champions League, if fans wants to take us into the Champions League, is this squad good enough to finish third in the Champions League? Is it?
I wouldn't think. I would be. I honestly wouldn't.
If Ange has these aspirations, Mark, to take us to this next level, like, and going back what two of you are saying there is, we're going to have to spend that little bit more to bring in.
But we knew that. I mean, we knew that already. Paul, that's not any day with what happened yesterday.
But let's go back to what Welchie said there before in the podcast. Will Ange actually get that? Because maybe all things are good in the rosy at the moment, Mark, because I'm just kind of getting all these brilliant bargains at the moment. But what if Ange does want to go to that next level and the club don't back him, the club don't want that we've seen over previous years when Peter Law was there? That's
Nah, I
going to
don't think
be...
that's going to
know.
happen. Nah, I think the days are long gone.
Mhm.
But Paul, all Celtic need to do is sell.
Has anybody heard Michael Nicholson speak yet?
No.
What a fantastic job he's done.
Brilliant
What a
job. He's done.
fantastic job.
Aye, that's what a CEO should be doing.
Fantastic job. And they haven't got enough. I don't think they've got enough credit they deserve. They have done an outstanding job this year. To me, they've done every bit as good a job as Postecoglou, in my opinion, because they have given Postecoglou everything he's required, all the tools, and said Postecoglou said I want this guy, that guy, and everyone they pretty much he's what he said they wanted. The board have gone, there you go. Not once have they interfered. They've managed the Celtic club, and he's managed the football side perfectly right.
Remember, Celtic are going to lose millions on Barkas. I don't think we're going to lose money on Barkas. I really don't. I think we get close to 4.5 on Barkas, Mark. I really think that. The last season that he's had, I think Celtic will gain back most of their money on that deal with him.
I don't know if we'll get it all back, Paul, but we'll not lose much off him. I don't think.
I think we'll get about 4 for him, Mark. I say.
I mean, you still got. I mean, it's like Chris Sutton. Chris Sutton went to Chelsea with one bad move. That's what it's been. Barkas didn't become a bad goalkeeper just because he was at Celtic for a year and bad.
I remember. A long time ago. I remember Dennis Bergkamp at Inter Milan was absolutely chronic. He was useless. He just couldn't settle there. Sure, he went to Arsenal and sure. What a player! Like, I'm just obviously using it as an example. I'm not comparing anyone to anyone before anyone.
Let's move on.
Anything, you know what I mean?
The doom and gloom of yesterday. You know, we let them have their bragging rights for the next couple of days, but according to Sky Sports yesterday, I don't know what that girl's name. What was her name? The presenter that was on that yesterday, Sky Sports.
Barber.
Ailey Barber.
Rangers will have the bragging rights for the summer. I think what she's forgetting is we have 5 trebles, potentially 5 trebles in the last 7 years. We're going to equal, are we going to equal or overtake their trophy haul? If we went
it would be if Celtic beat Inverness, I think they'll be one behind.
You know what I mean?
I think it'll be 100. I think it'll be 115 to 114. Someone can correct me, but I think it's 115 to 114. But Celtic would have more trebles if Celtic win.
Yeah, I mean, like.
But that lassie's getting absolutely crucified again on Twitter. We're saying that, but
of course she is, Mark. But
let's be honest, it's a slip of the tongue for a woman on the telly at the end of a game of football.
You know,
it's as if she's did some big, it's as if she's did F the Pope or something like that. The way some people are getting on. I mean, it's a telly presenter. She just came out with some. She probably get told to say it. Even I don't know. Just some kind of off the cuff remark. I don't honestly know what people are getting upset about it for.
But what did people expect her to say? Rangers are going to leave. The Rangers supporters here will now leave. They'll leave very disappointed today. They were. She's obviously going to say. Or they'll be, if it's on work on Monday, they'll be slagging whoever. If there's a Celtic fella there, they'll be slagging. We give you a hide, we hammered you, blah 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 blah. That's, as you said, it's a presenter just making a statement. Do you know what I mean? That's all it was. I mean, at the end of the day, the league trophy is going to Parkhead. The League Cup isn't going in Parkhead. The potential possibility of the Scottish Cup going to Parkhead. So. Regardless of, I think yesterday was massively blown out of the water. Even some of the comments in the live chat, you would swear it was. Yeah,
the League Cup and the Scottish Cup will put us ahead in actually overall trophies, Terence. I knew. Well,
I wouldn't. I thought it would have been if they'd won the two of them. It would have been they would have had 115 and Celtic would have had 114. That's where I read somewhere, but listen. To be honest, it's all the one to me. Once Celtic beats Inverness and with another treble, they'll be happy.
The most successful club, Mark, will they?
But Paul,
I wonder will they take down their world, the world's most successful club?
Well, they'll need to, wouldn't they?
You know, just going back to the Sky Sports presenter there, we probably see her on Cantwell's TikTok videos fucking next week. Do TikToks with him.
What's
Uh,
that?
she-
What's that? Jeff
Yeah.
Stelling called it as it was live in Soccer Saturday, but saying it was a consolation for Rangers.
That's all.
That's all it is.
I mean, but do you think Rangers fans are all going mental at Jeff Stelling for saying that?
You know, they're going on like they won the trophy, and the only trophy they won was we beat Celtic in the season trophy. That's all they won. You know?
Paul, they've been hyped up. They've beat us. That's the
But
highlight
that's
of
what I'm
this
saying,
season.
Mark.
I just let them rattle their gums for a
Hope.
couple of days.
Hope would kill them. You know what I mean? Give them hope.
What you see, Paul. What you have to remember is they played players yesterday, right? Who haven't normally started. Certain fella, I don't even know half their names. I have no interest in them anyway. But certain fellas in positions and they didn't play the Morales and Kent and all that, and they now think we found a couple of gems. Oh, this fella's dynamite. This fella's cracking. That fella's super. Like, yes, it was the derby match. Blah 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 blah. But one team was up for it, and one team clearly wasn't overly bothered. And that's the way it looked on the pitch, to be fair, because that's as lazy a performance as you'd see out of Celtic all year. And you could see even past the
I think even
crowd
Ange kind of hinted it. He was laying it on the players. He was laying the blame on the players. He never came out threw him under the bus, but I think he's kind of blaming the players for it as well. As you said, Terence, there was nothing in any of the jerseys.
It's a derby match. When have you seen a match like that there hasn't been a real bite and tackle by Celtic player? Even say Ralston flying into something.
You know what it reminds me of? Going back to the 90s when I was younger and Rangers were winning all the titles and Celtic would win that last season game that kind of meant
we done it the year we were at Hampden. We beat them 3-0. At Hampden, the last Old Firm at the time, Old Firm, that season we rent at Hampden, we beat them 3-0. Was Rudy Vata scored one of the goals off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was only quite young at the time, and I thought, oh, that's us. We're into him next season. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly,
And it wasn't. It's like a false dawn.
You'd be 10 times more critical, I would, of a performance like that in the cup final than I would be of yesterday. If Celtic put in a performance like that in the cup final, you'd be fuming.
Oh, aye.
Celtic putting in a performance like that yesterday didn't overly surprise me. It didn't overly surprise me. As I said, I text Mark and we were chatting and I said I reckon Rangers would have won 3-1. But it didn't overly surprise me, some of the players, because I think players were genuinely minding themselves for the cup final. It was like there was little or no tackles in that game. Certainly by a Celtic player.
No, there wasn't.
Evening, Joseph. Nice to see you, mate.
Hail, boys. Ange will prove how good he is when Ange sorts out Saturday's game and turns things around. We must win the Scottish Cup and win the treble. But if we play like Saturday's game, we'll win no cup. And I'm actually expecting a reaction next week against St. Mirren.
I'm just going to say that when you finish reading, Paul. I'm expecting a big reaction next week.
In his conference, well, Mark, look what happened the last time we lost the game. You know, so I'm expecting a big peak because I don't believe, and I said this to you, Mark, and numerous times throughout the season, Ange is not putting the players out to pull in these performances. You know, he's not that type of manager. He wants his team on the attack and fighting for every ball in every game. And I've said it a few times at the start of last season, Mark, and the start of this season, that do the players pick and choose what games to turn up? And I think that was one of those games yesterday. You know?
But wait till you see the starting 11, Paul. It'll be completely different.
Yeah, definitely. I think
it'll be completely different.
And stuff coming back like that, yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll go on, sorry, Mark, yeah.
No, on you go, Terence, while we're talking. On you go.
No, I was just going to say he won't accept those standards.
No,
he won't accept those standards from the players, and the players, I'm sure, behind closed doors will be made perfectly aware to them that those standards aren't acceptable.
Aye.
But you'll see, you'll have probably Kyogo starting up front, and you'll have Taylor back, and you'll have guys
Because-
available that are going to be available.
we've actually seen already how stubborn Ange is, Mark, this season with Jovanovic and G. Marcus. And
Well, we
if you're
saw
not
how
pulling your weight, you'll be out the door, I think, you know.
we saw how stubborn he was when Batati came out in the press and said that he was shattered last season, but I
Yeah.
still picked him in every game.
Exactly. You know, and if players are putting in that performance, Mark, they're not going to be long at Celtic, I think. You know,
No,
you know?
But I also think, though, Paul, he put that down for his own knowledge to go, right, I'm going to throw these guys out here and see what this.
Test their mental ability
Yeah.
in the, like, you know,
You
'cause-
look at two guys who stand out. Like I've heard fellas saying, well, you know, it was the derby and it was this and that. Look at Juranovic's performance in his first game for Celtic.
Mhm.
It was in there, and he played left back.
Johnson,
If you look at
Johnson,
Anderson Johnston as well. No, I'm going back a good few years, and this player, that was an exception to the rule. But Moravcik was only his second game for Celtic was against Rangers. So you know, I mean, there's certain players have had their debuts in these games away from home as well, and you know they've shone. So I think Ange could have learned a little bit about a few players there yesterday. Going, maybe I can't trust this guy as much.
Maybe it was a testy kind
But
of character.
Yes, I think, Mark, yeah, because, like,
You're not going to get much more poisonous atmospheres.
tends to have more,
No.
exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
But that's my next point, Mark, is it because no going into these games, and if this attendance thing keeps carrying on, is it an advantage to the home teams, maybe at Celtic at home with a full Celtic fans and Ibrox?
That's
full
where
of-
it's going to be, isn't it?
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
twice I was nearly getting sick. It was like the fucking King's Coronation again on the television with all those fucking Union Jacks, you know.
They're all you know about what that Ailey Barber said, but they were just in halfway through a rendition of that song they sing about they bought a flute for 50 pence. And the commentator on Sky said something about Ibrox Park's rocking or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? They're singing a song about F the Pope and that, and the commentators are saying, "Oh, this is great, this is rocking, mate." But I noticed as well, but Sky were turning they were
Sound
turning
down.
it down. Aye, they were turning it down.
Yeah, but
up
Mark,
and
we're
down on
talking about, like, Celtic are going on about the safety of their players, the safety of their coaches at Ibrox, and we saw an instant again yesterday when there was a light or a thrown at Yotta, you know, and it was given to the fourth official. The fourth official gave it to
I think it was a coin as well, wasn't it?
and
It was,
gives it
yeah.
to the Rangers official. There's going to be nothing done about that again. Like, and Celtic will keep pointing out, like, this place isn't safe to be going to. What a
But
discussion.
Paul,
They're gonna be doing
Paul,
about it.
make no mistake, Paul. There's probably the same lunatics in Celtic are throwing something at that when
Oh, I
the
know
Ranger
that.
fella goes for a corner. Do you know what I mean?
But they're not, like, my thing is the Scottish FA and kind of getting involved in this. Like, if they're saying to the club, sort it out, but it's up to you to sort this out.
I'm amazed that Sky Sports haven't got involved in this and gone, lads. How can you, in my opinion, how can you publicise and say this is one of the biggest derbies in the world, one of the most fierce derbies in the world, and if you're an outsider looking in and you're not 100%, you're going, oh, I must watch this game, and you're going, how come there's no away supporters?
Because
How
we
come
saw
there's no-
years back in BT Sports there when they wouldn't let Chris Sutton and Hearts, and then it was fair enough. BT Sports pulled the team out of Ibrox and went off to Celtic Park and presented it from over there.
Well, I remember that, but I know I've heard loads of people saying they don't want any Rangers fans in Parkhead, and everyone is entitled to their opinion. But then I saw loads of people texting there last week on after the winning Hearts. Oh, it's going to be it's a shame there's no Celtic fans at Ibrox. You can't have it both ways. You can't. You know, my opinion, and I said it to you as well. I'd much rather see it the old way. I would.
Yeah.
I'd much rather see it the old way. I think from
I
an
would
atmosphere point and everything else, I think it's unbelievable. And you know that was my opinion on it.
That it can't happen now because they sold all these season tickets on the back of these games, didn't they?
They've sold the season tickets for the seats, sir.
Oh, I know it can't be. I know it can't be done.
I don't think it'll be changed for next season's thing, Stone. No.
But it could, like what I'm saying is someone should be stepping in and going, this should be sorted out for the season after, like, because it's a little bit. It's brilliant in Celtic Park, and if you're a Rangers fan, it's obviously imagine brilliant in Ibrox. But from a spectacle point of view, you can't tell me that, like, if when you're watching Celtic and there's that whatever is the Broomfield End, is that what it's called? Where it was full of Celtic fans, or Broomlin End, whatever.
Broomlin stand,
yeah.
The Broomloan, Broomloan it is too.
Okay, and Celtic score and they go ballistic, and the rest of the stadium is bulling. Like, that's nearly better than Celtic scoring at Celtic Park. Do you know, it was brilliant to watch, and I know it's all down to the fact of the celebrations, and we've discussed it a million times over. But I know it won't go back anytime soon. You could even hear they were even discussing that. But I would love to see it back to even if it was 5,000 away in each crowd or whatever, something like that.
Good night, Brian. Thanks for joining us again, mate. See you later on.
Before I go there as well, I'll go there about quarter there. Did you see the Jersey towns going around with the hoops that has the kind of white Celtic? Yeah. That supposedly is going to be the jersey for next season, because Celtic are celebrating 120 years in the hoops next season.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Very good. It looks lovely now. It looks lovely.
That's why it's white, because the original hoops jerseys had kind of no crest in them, you know, and that's what they're kind of going to replicate. So
I've not decided on it myself, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. It'd be great if they could put the number back in the shorts.
Aye, definitely.
That was brilliant.
Why did they get rid of that? Was it over the commentary that they couldn't see them, or why was that?
I think it was near today with TV started to get really involved in
football. I think it was the TV
and stuff like that, and
then the name started kind of coming on the back as well.
But they tell Celtic they needed to put numbers on the shirts, and I'm sure Fergus put wee numbers on the sleeve, and that just pissed them off even more. Do you know what I mean? But I think it is near today with like the TV, so they get like for the commentators to see what players is actually. But that's what wasted Celtic tops. Do you know what I mean? When they started having to put the numbers on the back of them and that. Like,
it's called commercialism.
That's what it is as well.
I used to remember when they used to first put the numbers on it, it was like a big, huge white patch with the number then on the patch. Remember that? I think it was, I remember it was...
Paul, I can mean my mum having to sit. I can mean my mum having to sit and physically sew Celtic badges onto tops. They used to come in it was like the boxes you see shirts in these days, sitting the box, they kind of things, and that's what they came in. They came with that, and the patches and that were all there, and your mum had to sit and sew the patches onto the top and onto the shorts. So you can imagine how way half of it. My mum was all right at sewing, but you can imagine you can imagine so it's me my pals in that, and that guys, their badges were like sitting like 10 degrees out of sync kind of thing in that, these wonky badges in that.
Off to the left, off to the left.
Aye. Yeah. Somebody's had them somebody's had the badge in the middle, and then other ones had it on the chest, and then the other ones had it in the wrong side and stuff like that and everything, man.
Someone's poor mother then getting caught the stitch on Jan Wenger of Hesseling. Imagine asking your mum to the price to get that printed onto your jersey, Jan Wenger, and he insisted in his whole name on the back of the jersey, didn't he?
I know.
You know, Jesus Christ!
I've never in my life saw anybody with one with that on a top. You'd have thought somebody would have done it just for a laugh. Do you know what I mean?
And he asked for Jan Wenger Hess, and he comes out with Chadwi on us.
It comes out with
I was watching an ex-player yesterday, and he reminded me of if he actually stayed at Celtic, what he could have become. and his skill set yesterday was still unbelievable. He still had the flex, he had the flair of him, the running. Patrick Roberts for Sunderland yesterday.
I thought we were going to say Gucci.
No, Patrick Roberts, man.
I've saw he's getting kind of rave reviews in that, Paul.
Yeah.
You say that, aye.
You know, and he was actually playing kind of a right wing back role now. You know, because they were stuck with injuries, but didn't lose none of his pace up and down the line, bombing. And you know, if you're looking for a right winger, I don't think he'd come to Celtic. No, he seems to settle in. But geez, he was a great player. It was the only time really, Mark, that you saw James Forrest step up for Celtic. Was
when it's a real competition. Aye,
yeah.
I love Paddy Roberts. I thought he was a great player for us.
Yeah, great player.
But I think the Paul that Ange did speak to him. I think Ange did speak to him, and the rumours are that Postecoglou did speak to him at the start or something, and for whatever reason, maybe he just didn't see it in him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He kind of lost his way a bit, didn't he? He should be a bit a higher level than Sunderland.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. But Mark, that's going on again. Is players leaving Celtic that little bit too early when they should stay at Celtic for maybe another year, a year and a half or two. You know, they're leaving too early.
But Paul, see if you're a young player, right?
No, it's money, Mark. Yeah.
It's money, and you're saying, "Oh, wait, I'll leave in 2 years' time." What if you break your leg?
Yeah.
And you never get the chance of that big move again. Mm-hmm. It's like, what's the thing? It's like two cheeks of the same arse. You know what I mean? You can see kind of both sides of the kind of argument, but I never blame any young player. I mean, it's like Tierney going. I'm disappointed as any Celtic fan that Tierney left, but you can't grudge these young players a move when it comes along. Because let's face it, right? We love Celtic as much as anybody, right? But if any of the three of us were playing for Celtic and getting 20 grand a week, and somebody came in, Celtic accepted the bid and said, right, it's up to you, and you're going down in England or something like that, and they're going to give you 80 grand a week. You're off.
Mark, it's at the end of the day, it's your job. If you're doing your own job, and if I was doing my job in work tomorrow, and a company doing the exact same thing across the road offered me triple the amount of wages to do the exact same thing, would leave.
Aye.
It's as simple as that. Do you know what I mean?
Every now and again, a Scott Brown will come along, but there's always, I mean, there's extenuating circumstances with Scott Brown. Do you know what I mean? After what happened with his sister, he's dead close with his family and stuff like that. Like, not just his wife, I'm talking about his extended family. So you've got things like that. He did maybe when he had the chances to go down to England, and he thought, can't he just nip round to your so-and-so's for a wee blether and a cup of tea on the quiet without hassle? Do you know what I mean? You look at things like that, McGregor's going to be another one club man kind of thing. But the majority of players, and you've got to look at it with foreigners coming in. They all come in and they all fall in love with Celtic. But as you're saying, your terms, it's their job. And I mean, we know that the majority of foreign players that are coming into Celtic are coming in and using it as a stepping stone.
I don't think we're going to see that, Mark, anymore. I think it's going to be a long time that we're going to see an actual player spend so long that Scott Brown, Callum Mack and James Forrest. I think it's going to be a long time we're going to see that now. I think at Celtic.
I think
you'd only see that, Paul, from a homegrown player. Yeah. Because if they grow up to be if they're grown up being a Celtic fan or a Celtic ball boy like McGregor was and Tierney and all that, that's all you've ever wanted to do, is to play for Celtic, and those guys are willing to forego, in McGregor's case, vast sums of extra money. He'd rather stay at Celtic. That, you know, it's like whereas you look at it, you could have Abada, Hatate, Jota, Starfelt, for argument's sake. Those four could quite comfortably be gone in the summer. You know, if bids came in for all four of them and they were of good, you know, good value and good interest to Celtic, and interest to the players, all four of those could be gone. I'm only using them as examples now, but you know, I mean, there's the rumours of Abada leaving to go to Southampton for 10 million. How true that is, I don't know.
Yeah, because Southampton got relegated yesterday, so you know.
Is that them relegated?
Yeah, that's them relegated. Yeah, so they're going to be selling more so than buying. You know?
Maybe we could, if they get any decent players, we could get in and rip them halfway.
Stuart Armstrong.
No, Mark, they're not fucking not good. Like, you know, there'd be one fella actually I would like, but I think he'd be out of our price ranges. Ben,
Elanusi, is it?
yeah, the Irish goalkeeper, number 1 goalkeeper, Mark. But
Oh, right, is that who he's with? Southampton, aye.
Yeah. But he's
He's
injured.
not in the game either.
He's injured. He was on the bench yesterday, but he was thinking that they paid about 18 million, I think. Was it to Man City for him, Terence? I think it was around that.
They did, yeah. They paid big money, like, yeah.
Decent
But
money.
see the thing about it, Paul. See a lot of players seem to sign for these like teams in England that there's a chance you're getting relegated. See, because of the cost cutting, the clubs even
Exactly, have to sell cheap, yeah, exactly.
Aye, cut price deals and all that to get them off the wage bill and stuff like that. So you can maybe pick them up for a bargain.
You know,
But it's the wages the issue. That would be the only issue.
To Ange's system, he's great in his feet.
Surely we're paying more money than Southampton.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Without even going to check up stuff and all that, I'd imagine we're kind of same level as Southampton.
You would hope so, anyway.
Do you know what aye. You'd like. I mean, I know they've bought a lot of players off us and that, but that was their stepping stone into the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? They were never settling to Southampton. It was just a way to get into the Premier League. I wouldn't imagine Southampton are paying anybody really, really crazy money.
You know, exactly. I don't know what kind of the wage bracket they are on. Like, it was the only thing. It's just the revenue down there, Mark. The TV rights that's keeping a lot of these clubs.
Oh, aye.
You know.
Oh, Southampton's total wage bill for 2023 is 65 million.
Jesus.
What's that? About 15 million more than us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's some money, like.
Yeah, but
that's across the board. Do you know what I mean?
If you go back to the
individual players,
era, Mark, if you went back to the Brendan Rodgers era, we were nearly at that.
Aye, we were kind of pushing that then, weren't we?
We weren't far behind that time, because I remember when Ange came in, Mark, we were looking at the wages. And we were around the 60 mark that time, and Ange cut it from about 15 million or something like that. He brought it down. You know what I mean?
But as well too, Paul, if you look at, and you're dead right, but if you look at the two individuals you're talking about, most of Rodgers signings were guys that we knew.
Yeah.
You know, names that they're going to be on good money, and some of them are coming from the Premier League and guys or whatever. But it was names that we could all relate to. Postecoglou was buying lads from, obviously he did J League that no one knew, and like I don't know what the J League wages are, but for argument's sake, if they come to Celtic and they're on originally $3,000 a week, and they're coming to Celtic can offer them the $8,000 a week. They don't have to offer them the $25,000 a week that a Scott Sinclair or Paddy Roberts or whoever it was. These all the players that Rodgers was bringing in. Do you know what I mean? The Dembeles, all these guys. It's a big difference there. Like so, but I understand your point. But if you look at it now, that if they were renewing Celtic contracts. The Celtic wage bill would certainly increase, because Kyogo's wages would go up, but Tate's wage would go up, Maeda's wage would go up. Do you know, you could keep going through the team. You know what I mean?
Truth, Mark, that fella you were saying, Ikutu, Rumours, the League One, the midfielder we were looking at. Anything to that, or is it just all rumour to
Japanese boy?
Yeah.
No, I put that on the forum weeks ago, Paul, that we were scouting him. We've been scouting him for a while, and we spoke to his agent. So it's a transfer that might happen. There's a chance it could happen, but we're definitely in for him, aye.
Here's my next question to you. So, are we having too many players in our team?
100%. I was going to say that, Paul. I think 100%.
European players, Terence, that we're saying we're lacking at the moment, these physiques and stuff like that.
I definitely think so, because when I saw that, I thought to myself, like, you could realistically have a day where Celtic could field with maybe 8 Japanese, South Korean, whatever the nation is. You could literally have about 7 or 8 of them and starting in one game. Now, technically, some of them are excellent, but I don't know the physicality of some of them. And again, go back to the centre back yesterday to be out muscled. I have no problem with what the player, the level of player that's there. Most of them have been very good or excellent in certain cases, but I wouldn't like to be a situation where Celtic have got 8, 9, 10 Japanese players, or South Korean players or something like that. I'd rather it be a good balance, a mixture of European players as well.
Yeah, because I'm looking like we look long term, Mark, right? When Ange eventually Celtic like it's going to happen someday, and the next manager comes in and he's stuck with a load of aging players that maybe is not suited the way he wants to play. Like we're caught then, really, aren't you?
Aye, that's another thing, Paul. And me and Mikey were talking about this yesterday, and we were saying, it was Mikey that said to me, but think about it, if all the Asian-based players eventually get called up for international duty. Look, we always mind Rogic when he used to have to go and do all that travelling. But I know Rogic was a bit of a different thing. He was always a bit iffy fitness-wise. But are we wanting 6, 7, 8 of our first team players flying halfway around the world for these, and then coming back, a Friday and we're playing the week? Do you know what I mean? You've got to, and you've got to be trusting Ange, and there's obviously plans behind what he's doing, but it's even down to the homegrown rule in Europe, stuff like that.
Like it's exactly what James is saying there, like about the homegrown players. Unless now, Mark, Ange is going to do a big clear out of fringe players in the summer. I'm expecting the likes of Zaro to come back, Ayeti, Barkas. I think there's going to be
that Gahidi guy, Stu back.
McCarthy, Gucci. I think there's going to be a big clear out, Mark, this season. And I actually think we're actually going to find it hard to get rid of James McCarthy, Mark, because he's on good wages and his injury record.
He's not on that good a wage, Paul, because his deal was a lot to do with performance. He had to play games to get the kind of top level.
Yeah.
But he'll probably just get a pay off, Paul, and be on his way.
I'd rather, Paul, and it just giving it as an example, I'd rather, if they're looking at a midfielder like that, I'd rather Celtic go for someone like that Devlin fella from Hearts. I think he's a fine player.
I like him.
He's a right feisty player. He's a real battler. Doesn't mind the tackle. He doesn't mind leaving the boot in. On any time I've watched him against Celtic, I've been impressed. He gets forward.
Plus, he's Australian as well, so Ange's. You kind of obviously Ange talked to him after the game.
Yeah. Well, even regardless of that, any time I've watched him playing against Celtic, I've been impressed with him. Like, I mean, he's
dirty tackles. They're right proper tackles.
But even if they are a little bit dirty, Paul, what about it? They could do with something like that as well.
That's what I'm talking about.
They're not like the lunchtime challenge, Mark, that would break your leg. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's hard. It's hard tackles.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'd rather be looking at a guy like him who he's already in the league. He knows the situation. I'm not passing any aspersions on the Chinese or the Japanese fella. I don't know how good or bad he is. But like Celtic have already 1 or 2 other midfielder fellas that haven't really played much that Ange has brought in, Japanese fellas. I would rather them go for a guy like that Devlin fella, who what you're going to get. Like what you're going to get straight away. Like,
I guarantee, if we sign another Japanese player, we're going to see Cantwell coming to Celtic Park, talking to these players, asking them how can he grow his TikTok over in South Asia, because TikTok is huge over there. Guarantee you. he tell him he dresses up as Beyonce and he dresses with young girls and he sings all his videos.
What?
Yeah.
There's no way that's going to happen, is it? He wouldn't give wee Hatai a drink of water. He's not going to ask him how to fucking sell TikTok videos.
See,
Do you know what I mean? Wee Hatai turns around and says, "Oh no."
His TikTok business is booming, don't you get me? It's booming. He wants to take that TikTok to the next level. He's going to have to grow it in Asia.
Do you think that's how we signed for them, just to get likes and fucking followers on TikTok?
Sure, he's fucking still doing this. He's still doing it.
But no, here, no, but really isn't right. See what you were saying earlier on, like him running about acting the hard man and that. He's a big streak of piss.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. TikTok.
How's he getting away with that?
But that's what I'm saying. If you had a fella like that Cammy Devlin fella in the middle of the field, that would be finished. That would be ended fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't. He'd go through it.
Mind the picture.
Johnson. We need another player like Alistair Johnson that's going to get stuck in and who's not going to get bullied on the pitch.
But mind when they first signed him, they didn't even put a real picture of him. It was like a drawing where all his muscles were all kind of defined out as if he was some kind of big hulking guy. And then I saw him and he was just this big long streak of piss hen
So he reminds me of, do you remember the film Will Ferrell was in it?
That
Blades of Glory. Blades of Glory. When
I hate that. I hate him, I know. I hate Hugh. Is it Luke Wilson he's called with the big nose in that?
No, it's the other. This fella's fucking a little tiny little thing. I don't know what he's
name is. Right, I know who you're talking about.
That's what reminds me of, the skater. You know, I think that we need another player like Alistair Johnson. Definitely. I think Devlin could be, if we're looking for someone to tell us what you're saying, players that we actually know and we know him, that he could actually. But is he good enough for Europe, or
I'd be good enough in Scotland, Paul.
You won't know till you try. You won't know till you try, Paul. But in fairness, and every time he's played, every time I've seen him play, he looks an impressive player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even for Australia in the World Cup, he done well.
He said it. No, it's like that player, Mark, that Dundee United had at that time that used to always dominate the midfield against us, the centre midfielder, that he just always gets stuck in. You know, he reminds me of that type of player.
I can't mind his name now, Paul.
You know, was a big block.
Was it Fuchs or something like that? Was it Fuchs?
Something like that, Terence. Fuchs, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's a decent player, like.
That was a big blow to Dundee United yesterday, losing 3-1. Ross County. You know.
It's looking a bit grim for them.
Yeah, that was a kind of a must win. You know, must win. Folks, I have to go. I don't know if yourself and Mark are staying on, or
I could just go if you want, Terence. That's 8 o'clock, bud.
Yeah.
No, it's up to yourself. It's up to yourself. I mean, I can chat for another few minutes if you like. No problem.
No, we'll stay on for a wee for 5 or whatever long. Just before you go, Paul, in case anybody's not seen this, I meant to put it up earlier on. Fucking right there, it's there. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Today was a long way in making the pain Joe from West to see the 19th century terrorist. You know, Jesus Christ!
We'll get the 12. We'll get the 12th of July. You look forward to.
Jesus Christ! You know, what do they live on? Like,
imagine even that. Imagine actually taking your time out of your life to go and type that into a computer.
Yeah, you know, but
the beauty about it is they live off the notion that after yesterday's result, we have him sussed. We know what he can do. We've started our system. Blah blah blah. All the rest of it, and that'll suit Celtic down to the ground. They actually think after yesterday that there's no, as I said, there's no gap, and we have Ange's ticket and blah, all the rest of it. And these players are after coming in, and Cantwell is now probably worth 50 million in some people's eyes up there, and all the rest of it.
Oh, even yesterday watching the game, Terence, they were talking about that goalkeeper they had, that McCrory, and he said, oh, it's only his 4th game for Rangers. And here, he did do a decent enough game, but I was sitting saying to myself, I bet you the daft cunts sitting watching that.
Mark, the 2 games
We
he
could
played,
get
against us
10
were the 2
more.
games we played poorly against
Aye.
Rangers.
But there'll be
You know?
daft cunts sitting there watching that yesterday and saying, here, we could get 10 or 12 million for him. That's the mentality. Do you get what I mean? It's like I keep saying, every Celtic player is judged by the last kick.
I heard they're getting close to 12 million each between Roof and Callback. Roof. Jesus Christ.
Even the Celtic forever. You're a bit late to the show. Paul's going away and me and Terence are just going, here, Bobby, somebody else wants to come on, I'll put the link out.
Because I'm going to go, Mark, because the little fella's just bawling, crying here. And just go and give me.
No bother. That's no bother. We'll just wind it up then.
He just said, thanks, Terence. Good to have you back, boy.
Cheers, lads.
Good podcast with you again tonight. Onwards and upwards. Let's get the treble done, and we'll have the bagging rights for next year. And the only thing Rangers will have next year is Ian Beale's mole might actually be next season.
That's what, Paul, you should start a TikTok of Ian Beale's mole.
You know, fucking thing will start talking to me by that. You know, that's it, lads. Mark, close the show.
Right, no bother. Right, thanks again, Paul. Brilliant to get you back on, Terence. I know I've been speaking to you, but it's good to get you back on. And
cheers, lads. Thanks.
Everybody that joined us, I hope you enjoyed it as usual. No, I've not enjoyed it as usual. I hope you enjoyed it. And as usual, if you don't hit this like button, if you've not subscribed, please do. And leave a comment if you can, because it helps the algorithm. And everybody that listens back on other platforms and that, thanks very much for all the support and that. Hail, hail, good night, and God bless.
Jeez, I'd no way that can't